Hi guys, in this lesson we're going to take a look at the Git SCM. SCM, by the way, stands for Source Control Manager. Git is a distributed version control system, which just means that unlike some other SCMs, there is no one master copy. All developers have a full copy of the repository on their machines. This makes Git faster to use than most other source control or versioning systems, and also means that there's no one single point of failure. Source control systems also give you a history of your project and allow you to go back to any point in the code. SCM systems also improve your development workflow. If you have a product and you want to add a new feature, you can create a new branch in the project which duplicates all of the files and code in a project up to a certain point. Then you can develop the new feature in the branch without risking breaking the stable master. Once the feature has been developed and tested, the branch can then be merged back into the master. Or if it is decided that the new feature is actually not quite right for the project, it can simply be discarded. SCM systems are especially important when multiple developers are maintaining the same codebase, as any of the developers can create their own local branches for developing in at the same time and merge their own changes back into the master. All changing code at the same time, safe in the knowledge that their changes won't affect anyone else. So let's get Git installed. We need to head on over to the Git SCM website. And on the home page is a big download button. I'm using Windows, so I get the download for Windows button. As you can see, the latest version is 1.9.0, but just grab the latest version. So we'll download that quickly, and then once that's finished downloading, we can get it installed. We'll also be using Github as the server where we store our repositories. So if you don't have an account already, you should probably set one up now. On this page, Windows users will want to ensure that they check the middle option here, Run Git from the Windows command prompt. So this will ensure that Git gets added to the system path. So we just wait for that to install. And we don't need to worry about viewing the release notes. Let's just untick that and then we can finish. So we've got a little bit of setup to do now. So we should open up a command prompt. And just to test that everything has been installed correctly, let's just type git. And as you can see, it gives some information about some of the commands that we can use. And that's a good sign because it means that Git has installed successfully and is available in the Windows system path. So we can just use the regular command prompt. If when you type in the git command, it says that Git is an unrecognized command, it just means that the system path hasn't been updated properly, and you can either update it yourself manually, or you could try restarting, or you could use the git bash prompt, which is like a specialized command prompt that will work with Git. So first of all, we want to tell Git our name so that when we commit to the master repository, it labels the commit to show that it came from us. So let's enter this command to do that. So obviously you can put your own name there, and we now need to tell Git what our email address is. So we run a very similar command for this. Okay, great. So to connect up to GitHub, we probably want to use a client. We could do it using the command line, but then we'd need to install additional tools like OpenSSH. So using a client is just easier and quicker. So we can download the GitHub client for Windows, which takes care of all our needs. Let's just do that now quickly. And there's a great big download button here. So let's hit that and we just wait for that to download. And once that's downloaded, we can then install it. So let's run the installer. We'll just wait for that to complete. So once the application has been installed, it will launch automatically. If you've got any Git directories on your machine, the app will find them. But if you're watching this course, I'm going to assume that you're setting it up from scratch. So it will take us into the login screen automatically. So we just need to add our GitHub username and password here, and then we can hit the login button. And that will then connect up your GitHub account. Any accounts you're a member of should be listed, and then you can go and check out the individual repositories in those accounts. So if you're setting this up for the first time, you probably won't have any, so let's set one up for the code examples that we'll look at later in the course. So there's a button here called Create. Let's click that. And for the name, let's enter Pro Front-End Workflow. That's the name of the course and also the name of our repository. And we can give it a brief description as well. And it will automatically put it in our documents folder, in a folder called GitHub, and then create a new folder for this repository. And we can also click the push to GitHub arrow there, and then we can choose create. And if we open up Windows Explorer, we can just navigate to that folder directly. And we can see that Git has added a couple of things for us. We've got a hidden .git folder, so that's where the history of the repository is stored. And we also have a .git attributes file and a .git ignore file. So one thing we definitely want to do is add a README file to the repository. And we just want to call this README. And we can give it a .md extension, and that will save it as a markdown file. So now let's go back to the client. We need to click the little arrow here just to actually open the repository, and we can see that there are some uncommitted changes. So let's just commit these changes now. So the changes obviously are these new files, and what we'll normally want to do is just do an initial commit, and then we can hit this commit to master button. So that's done the commit locally for us, so we just need to publish that now. And once that's finished publishing, we can then sync it with GitHub. And if we head on over to the GitHub website, then we should find, if we look in our repositories, we have the new Pro Front-End Workflow. And we can see that our README file is displayed on the home page for the repository. So in this lesson, we looked at Git and saw how to install Git and a client for Git and then connect up to our GitHub account. We looked at how to add files to our repository and how to commit and publish them to the master branch. Obviously, we've only scratched the surface of what we can do with Git, but this should be enough to get you up and running. You should also be aware that the GitHub for Windows client that we installed in this lesson isn't the only Git client available. And we don't have to use Git with GitHub. We could work entirely with local repositories or set up our own remote repository on a server. In the next lesson, we're going to look at Node.js. Thanks for watching.